Hello. Hi, 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 everybody. Hi, everyone. It's me again. Come and join me. Come and join me. Come and join me. Hi, hi. Hello, everyone. And I'm going to wait for Annabelle to come in. And I'm really excited. Okay, Annabelle's here.
Hello.
Finally, we meet.
Yes, very finally. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long day, but yeah, looking forward to our session here tonight.
Just to make
How are you?
sure that you can hear me clearly.
I can. Yeah.
Okay. I'm so excited. Like 30 minutes ago, I'm just kind of like setting up this place, getting my water
Oh,
ready, and I'm I'm really excited to speak to you finally. Just gonna,
yeah.
I think there's more people joining in now, so which is great. Yeah, so how are you today? I always
Um,
find it difficult, when I first meet somebody, because obviously previously we're just on texting, and then it's just
yeah.
like, all right, how do we get from there?
Yeah. No. I feel like I think through the chats that we've had, I feel like I kind of already know you. Like I feel like, you're yeah, who you are in person is what I envisioned you to be when I was texting you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How's it
All
going?
right.
You're in the UK, right? You're in London, you said?
I'm up north near to Liverpool.
Nice. And everything's going okay over there?
Ooh, the COVID situation is not the best here at the moment. It's just hard to contain where everybody kind of like want to get out and live life as per normal. It's just not gonna work.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is what it is at the moment. I just stay at home most of the time, just try to
Yeah.
do what I can. Can't really control what other people can do, but other than doing our part.
Yeah. I think you just, yeah, got to sit tight. Yeah, and let it sit for a little while.
Yeah. Okay, since there is more people joining us now, shall we get started? Because I also don't want to kind of
Sounds
like
good.
take too much of your time. Okay. All right. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Meredith from Turnique, and today we have got Annabelle from the co-founder from We Bear, as well as the professional musicians. For everyone wants information, this is the first time basically me and Annabelle speak. So I'm really excited, as well as a lot of other people. Maybe I'll have a little bit of background of how I actually even approached you in the first place. I think it was in maybe 2018, I started following on your personal page. And that was
Oh,
because
wow.
of, yeah, I think it's because I ran a mental health campaign in 2018. And then I engaged Sarah to help us to give us a shout for our campaign poster. And I think that's how then it's just kind of like connected. And then I started to follow you. And then I think in the past 2 years, I have seen a lot of the posts that you have shared and your stories, and you are very openly sharing about things that you have been going through, as well as share a lot of courage. And even though there are things that are very close to heart and very, you're very vulnerable, you put yourself out there. But I do find a lot of strength even by reading your post, and I see how people can read your post and also find it relatable. And so when Turning was launched a few months ago, and then we started this Turning on Live on air platform where we wanted to connect with people, I just thought of you like, right, I need to speak to you. And so
Yeah.
then I pop into your inbox, and I'm just so grateful that you just agreeing to speak so quickly.
No, thanks so much for having me in mind. And I think I almost like missed your message because I think it came at a time where I had just given birth. So like there were like, all these influx of messages, but I think it's meant to be that we connected in the end. And I have a lot of admiration for what you have started with Turnique, because I mean we'll talk a little bit more later, but then mental wellness is so important and I think so undervalued, especially in Asia.
Yeah. Would you be able to maybe first give us a little bit of, a walkthrough, like, in the past 2 years
Yeah.
in, try to cram everything into a little bit of summary for us, what went through for you the
Yeah.
last 2 years?
What it started was, in 2019, I started the year strong. And I said to myself, I want to make this my best year yet. What can I do, right? And then I remembered someone telling me about this. His name is Andrew. He was my professional coach. We crossed paths at some events, previously. And he said, if ever you need, coaching, just let me know. And I thought, like, hey, why don't I attempt that? I want to know where my gaps are. And I mean, I'm doing well, I'm feeling great, but let's not wait for something to happen before, I try to get coaching. Let's try and see where the gaps are and use that to help me move forward into my best year yet. But little did I know that I was in for, like, a roller coaster ride through 2019. So we started coaching in January of 2019. We started really well. As much as it was a personal coaching, he also did business coaching, like, for example, strategies for growing the business, professional development, investor relations, and all of that. So I really appreciated that. But I think a key part of his approach was to help me strengthen my mental resilience as well. So we explored things like, in the toolkit, through mindfulness therapy, physical therapy, breath work, positive psychology. And, I took that in. It was all really good. That was in January. Then February, I found out I was pregnant for the first time. And through, this, it saw me through my first miscarriage, which happened as a huge shock, because I mean, the pregnancy was a huge shock. I remember when it first happened, I wasn't the most thrilled about it. It's just like, oh, such a bad timing. And by the time I wrapped my head around it, it was over even before it started. And I think through that, a lot of people expected me to have a bigger reaction. And for a while, I thought, like, maybe it hasn't hit me yet. Maybe I'm in denial and whatnot. But I feel like the effects of, me working on, my mental strength has already started taking effect. Yes, I was grieving. Yes, it was really sad. And, I spent time taking time off to really grieve in that moment. But then I felt like I came out of it and I felt like I was okay. And the fact that I said to people I was okay made them feel like I'm not okay. But, like, if I look back 6 months, 9 months, 12 months later, actually, I was fine, going through what I went through. So that was February. Then later, I think April came about. At work, there was some like changes within, like, manpower and staffing. I think a particular employee that, I was grooming and was training a lot suddenly gave her resignation. And I think for me, with a small company like that, I felt sad because, I've spent so much time grooming her for it. And I felt like, I don't know, on some level, I think I took it personally. Like, why, if things are good, why did you want to leave and all of that? Then that was in April. And I feel like organizationally, within our organization, there was quite a lot of changes that happened as well. Fast forward to July. Is now known as the worst month that I've ever had to go through at work. Typically at WeBar, we have 2 or 3 events a month. That's a lot already because they are pretty, like, intense ones. In July that year, we had 17 events in 1 month. Um, it was like absolutely crazy. But, I'm type A. I'll be like, yes, let's do it. We can, I can, let's all go all out for it. So that was that. It was also that particular employee's last month at work, so which means I had to take on quite a lot of stuff onto my own hands. We had instructor
Yeah.
training, a 5-hour program going on. I had to be in Bali to organize a wellness retreat. We were moving house, and through all of that, my husband got himself into hospital, thinking he had a heart attack one day before we were about to move house. It was like, oh my God, like everything just
Uh,
crashing. And then I wasn't even supposed to be here when we were moving house because I was counting on him to move house for us. So with him in the hospital, and then, it was like, what do I do now, So at one point in July, I remember I was at work and I just sat there. I was in some meeting or something like that, and I just felt like something is not right. I have not felt this way ever. It was this strange feeling that eventually became known to me as an anxiety attack. That was the first time that I had an anxiety attack. And it was quite late at night. It was 10 p.m. And I don't like to bother people late at night, but I texted Andrew, my coach. I said, Andrew, I think something's up. It does not feel good. I am, a bit jittery. My breathing is, really quick. My heart, it's like palpitating. I don't like the way that I'm feeling. Do you have any tips for me? And then he called me back right away. We had a quick, like 10-15 minute conversation. Even just talking about it, I think I felt like 50% better right away. And I think that was kind of, in a nutshell, 2019. And I think what I learned in 2019 was the importance of awareness. So a lot of things I feel about mental health, or like, the practice of mindfulness, is first being able to be aware of how you're feeling and what it is in the first place. Through my sessions with Andrew, the thing that I learned is that whenever I feel something negative, I feel a tightness in my chest first. So many times I'm walking up and down the street, I feel this tightness in my chest and I don't know why. But then now I know that when I get that feeling, I will step back and ask myself, what is it really that's bothering me? Is it because someone said something that wasn't so nice, like, an hour ago? Or is it because a friend said she would do this? And so it's just about identifying and then not rejecting it, not telling myself, oh, it's okay, you don't have to think that way, just brush it aside, you'll be fine. It's acknowledging that it's there and saying to this feeling, okay, I see that you're here, okay, I welcome you. It's not nice, but I'm going to let you take the time that you need to heal, to be okay with it, and to just sit with it. I think awareness is key, is something that has really helped me. And I think through 2019, it's about building that mental resilience over and over again. It's a process of continuously strengthening that, mental wall. I think the best analogy that I can think of is the movie Inception. You know how the guy that they were trying to get into the mind of, he was so strong with his like, mind training that he got, that no matter how hard they try to penetrate, he has walls around that to try and, counter that. I mean, eventually they broke him, but that's not the point. But the thing is, when you continuously try to build on your mental resilience over and over again, yes, there are ups and downs in life. That's fine. You go down, you build it up, bring it back up again. You go down, you bring it up again. The thing is, every time this happens, it's like how in fitness you get stronger and stronger each time, and just letting it come and not being afraid of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot that happened in a year.
Yeah. That was only 2018.
God, I think it can be a bit more relatable to a lot of people this year because of like how COVID has knocked off a lot of like plans and stuff like that. And I think you mentioned a lot of, from the first miscarriage to, work related to your events, that or 17 events in a month is just absolutely crazy.
I've never done it again, and I don't think I ever will.
Don't put yourself in this situation again. And then to the anxiety attack as well. It's when you look back now, it is a crazy year. And how would you look at it differently if you have not go through coaching?
Wow, I really don't know. I just feel like, the universe has its way of, coming in, knowing that I would have had such a year to bring coaching into my life. I think if I didn't, it would be this up and down roller coaster journey of, just being on the edge all the time, not knowing how to be fully present in my day to day, because I'll be, letting all these things take over me. And yes, I'm good at, doing things like exercising, which helps, relieve stress and all of that. I sleep pretty well. But the thing is, not knowing how to deal with it, not having the toolkit to continuously tackle these issues, I think emotionally that would have been pretty challenging. I don't think about it so much. So what will happen if I had not? I think going through what I, went through with coaching has allowed me to be a lot more calm no matter what happens. Like, shit comes my way. I think right now it's just a state of calmness. Like, let it come. Let's deal with it one thing at a time. That's okay. I feel like I'm sharper with my decision making, and I just feel more centered. Yeah, as like a person, and even at work as well.
Yeah. Because, hold on, I need to look at my own handwriting and I can't understand. Uh,
The most beautiful.
so one of the things that you mentioned, and I think it's really important, like when you said about toolkit and about awareness, because we had this conversation before about how physical health is so much more talk about, like we talk about physical health a lot more, and we are also more aware about when we have got sore throat and our throat starts to feel itchy, we know what to do because we know we have the toolkit. We know we need to eat lozenges, we need to drink more vitamin C's, but we're not really aware about what to do with mental health. And that is one of the key thing as well. Like there is no measurements into when you should start to care for it. And so, and like when you go through a coaching, you have those toolkit, it helps you with it. But if you didn't go through it, you probably will be very lost.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
can't. I mean, I can't, and I don't want to imagine what life would be if I hadn't gone through. I think it was pretty tough. Yeah, but I think on the positive side of it, like, the topic of this conversation, I grew through what I went through pretty much. And
Yeah.
and I think that's then set the, stepping stone for this year as well. Because then through the miscarriage, I realized that I wanted to have children, because before that I wasn't 100% convinced. So through that, I decided, me and my partner, we said, I think let's give it a shot. We want to have kids. And then, shortly after, in September, I got pregnant. And then, I made such big plans. I'm like, oh, this is what we're going to do, to make this a smooth transition as much as possible. I'm going to take some time off, next year. It's going to be okay. I got the team together in January. We met up. We had this like forecast. We went through this huge team meeting together with my business partner as well. Everything was laid out like step by step. Every single month, these are our deliverables. These are our forecasts. Then COVID happened. COVID happened and like overnight wiped everything away. I remember it was in April. I was at a staycation because we couldn't go to the Maldives because flights had already stopped by then. I was quite heavily pregnant by then, but in 4 days, we had to shut all of our locations in Singapore, in Hong Kong, move our entire business online. Like the future of our business is a question mark. And in the ideal world, I would have loved to take like the last 2 months off getting ready, but in the end I worked all the way till 1 week before I gave birth, because the very essence of the survival of our business lies in this time, and that was something that I couldn't let go. Yeah, so I mean, I didn't mind it, I didn't resent it, but the thing is, it's just not an ideal situation. Our parents from Australia couldn't come for the birth, although they wanted to. My birth process took 24 hours, which, by the way, I'll come back to that later. The way that I did my birthing was very related to mental strength as well. So it's what they call hypnobirthing. It's basically meditating while you're giving birth.
Right. I think I saw you sharing about it, and I was really curious about
Yeah.
how does it work?
It's really, I mean, it's mind over matter. So it's breathing techniques. Some of the breathing techniques I find like quite similar to like yoga, like ujjayi breathing. Some of that is like belly breath work as well. So it's breathing, it's visualizations, it's positive reinforcement. You have your scripts that you read through, your affirmations. So it's everything in the mind. So when, you know, the pain, the contractions are happening, they don't use negative words. They don't say contractions. We call them surges. So it's all very positive. You breathe through. It's like you're meditating through the entire thing. It's amazing. And yeah, I'm really glad I went through that. But even that, you know, took like 24 hours. For the baby to come out. Shortly after the baby came out, like a few days after, I didn't share this publicly yet, but there was this like testing, blood, they do all blood tests at birth, right? And then the test result came back like really negative, like she could have a life-threatening disease. And then the doctors called us in a panic. We had to be readmitted to ICU. It was the worst 24 hours of my life waiting for the test to come back because we had to retest and like, you know, find out what's up with that. It was so serious that if undetected, like in their own words, she will not make it past 2 years old, you know, like that's not what you want to hear. Yeah, so we were in the ICU with her. I was like, I couldn't sleep. And within 12 hours, thankfully, in Singapore, the results came back and it was a false positive. It was completely a false alarm. But like this like roller coaster of emotions. Then we came back home. 1 week later, I had to fire our helper on like 2 days notice. Um, because like we found out like really nasty things, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a helper, we're having a newborn, my confinement nanny is going to be gone in 2 weeks, what are we going to do? And then a week later, my husband comes and tells me that he might be losing his job. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, let's deal with it one thing at a time. So that all happened in July of this year. I don't know, something about July. Okay, it was July 2019 where all that stuff happened. It was July 2020 that all this stuff happened as well. But the thing is, when I compared this year to the last year, I don't know which year is worse, but I knew that this year when it all happened, I think whenever something happened, I noticed on hindsight that I didn't react. I think I just let it sit and observe it for a little while, knowing that, I mean, it may be okay, it may not be okay, but knowing that what's happened has already happened, let's sit with it and think with it with a clear mind, and not like, you know, instinctively react right away. Yeah.
It, it's I think that it's always a love-hate relationship between crisis, because without crisis we wouldn't really, without what happened, you know, the bad things that all this all thing, without it happening we wouldn't have be who we are.
Yeah.
But at the moment when everything happens, it's very hard to see the good out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why you were saying about, you know, mental resilience. And how do you think that, you know, mental resilience or mental fitness, it's so important? Like,
Why do I, sorry, I didn't,
why
you
do
broke.
do you think that mental resilience, or how do you think that mental resilience is so important?
Because everything starts in the mind. Everything presents itself in the mind, and if you're not aware of it, it'll take over your body and present it in the physical form. I mean, I come from a fitness background, and there's this saying by Joseph Pilates. He's the guy who started Pilates. There's this quote that I use it in my training all the time. It is the mind itself which builds the body. So it must first start in the mind first, whether it's your posture or whatnot, then it comes out through your body. And I think mental resilience is so important because that's a space that nobody can see other than yourself. Like what you said just now, if you broke your ankle, if you know you had you know, a couple of scratches on your arms, other people can see it and they might say, hey, can I help you? Can I put a band-aid on you? Can I put a, you know, ankle tape on you to help you get better? But the thing is, anything that happens with the mind, no one else can see. And that is why so many people live and deal with mental health issues, but they don't talk about it because it's not popular. It's, something that people just don't want to talk about because they feel like they can deal with it themselves. But the thing is, over time, I think it will consume you if your mental health is not strong.
Yeah. And I think like even with the people that's now tuning in, we all struggle in a way or another because that's life. And sometimes we expect life to be smooth sailing, but it's not gonna be all a bit of roses.
Yeah.
And so like how would you kind of like, with all the experience that you have been through with coaching, with all your life experiences, if somebody comes and tell you that, I'm just really stressed but I don't think I'm serious enough to see a professional, what and when do you think somebody should, right, it's time that you really need to take care of your mental fitness?
I think there's never like a time where you need to do it. I think everyone needs to do it.
Mm,
If you feel like it's taking over your life, then I would say see a professional, or even not a professional, like a friend that you can talk to. I feel like vocalizing it is bringing to life what's going inside here. So, you're taking
mm,
what you're vocalizing out, and I feel like just being able to do that, you identify and you're aware of the issues that you're dealing with at hand. But little things that everyone can do to, build on their mental well-being is, doing little things like exercise increases endorphins in your body. Endorphins make you feel good. These are, the natural feel good hormones in your body. Moving, taking a walk, getting some fresh air. I think there's not enough credit given to breathing. There are lots of breathing exercises out there. If you're not sure how to do it, something very simple, like, on Apple watches, or, a lot of smart watches, they have a very simple breathing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Of course, if you want to explore deeper into like various breathing techniques, there are lots of resources that you can like tap onto as well. Journaling, writing out, your thoughts, just putting it out there. Yeah. Building deeper relationships with people, helping other people. I think it's
mm.
all about not letting it overwhelm you. So when give and spread kindness to others, actually it makes you feel pretty good, and sometimes it makes you feel like the issues that you're dealing may not be as overwhelming as it seems as well.
Yeah, that's it as well. When because I like to compare physical health and mental health side by side. Because if we want to, I believe that if we want it to have us the same importance, we need to compare them all the time. And I think, well, for physical health as well, we do prevention when we don't wait until we have got a chest pain. Okay, sometimes now we still wait until we have got a chest pain, then to do blood tests, then to start exercising, then to start lose weight. But now we have started to build about like this awareness with physical health, that prevention. So people start going to gym, people start to exercise, and that's how you can prevent it. But like for mental health space, it is still very much underrated, and that we don't talk about that much. And it's often until people are really stressed out, or when it's affecting their life, that they started to look into it, whether it's a bit more, you will be lack of motivation by then. So for you, what do you think about, like, in this Asia context, how can we promote it?
I think with a lot of things in Asia, right? It's to keep these conversations going so that it becomes a normal thing. Normalizing mental health. Mental health is not a problem. It is, a thing that we have to deal with, like a flu, like, like you said, any physical condition. Like if you have a flu, people won't be like, oh, how you got flu. I mean, maybe not.
But now if you have a flu or you cough, you will go like,
So yeah, mental health is just as important. So like whether it's so I heard from a close friend that mental health or psychiatry in Singapore is so underfunded just because they don't put as much emphasis on it. But the thing is, it's not an area that needs to go underfunded just because it's not life-threatening. Mental health is just as important as well because it's all about the well-being. Like, I was reading and I was talking to my team about it. I think it's in the UK or Ireland. They appointed a minister of loneliness. Yeah. So, you know, you have Minister of Finance, Minister of Health. So there, I can't remember which country they appointed a Minister of Loneliness because, again, before COVID happened, loneliness will take over the world as a disease because people are reducing in social interaction. And actually, after COVID, this will become even more apparent because people are just not anymore, and they are not dealing with mental health issues as much. So this will become a global issue if we don't start tackling it on a personal level.
Yeah, especially in the Asia context, it will be. I think we all know there is this stigma around mental health especially in the Asia context where we still don't talk much about it. At a more personal level for anybody else, other than talking about it, what else do you think that it's something that we can do?
I think education. I think the reason why in Asia it is so under talked about is because when we were kids, we were told to shut down these feelings. Like you're feeling sad, no, snap out of it, you know, go study, snap out of it, you're going to be fine. But the thing is, right now, you know, there's a lot of education on acknowledging toddlers like big feelings because they don't know how to handle these big feelings and it overwhelms them. That's why they throw tantrums and all of that. So I think it's how we educate the next generation. That's for one. But I think within ourselves as well, other than, you know, talking more and more about it, is to educate and make things like, you know, what you offer on Turnique, a very natural thing to want to sign up for. As much as they want to sign up for fitness classes, I want to take bite-sized information to deal with little things like anxiety, you know, that little friend at the door that knocks on the door at 2 a.m., you know, at night and, you know, keeps me up because I'm anxious about something that's going to happen at work the next day. I think little things like, you know, doing things for yourself. I think self-care has become such a buzzword, but not everyone really accepts or really indulges in self-care. So prioritizing yourself, whatever it takes. It could be a spa session, it could be reading, it could be journaling. Do one thing a day that makes you feel like yourself again. I like that. Whether spending 10 minutes taking or 20 minutes taking a long bath so you can be with yourself, or spending 15 minutes for a long walk just so that you can be by yourself. Or some people, they don't need to be by themselves. They want to be social. They want to be with friends. Then, you know, have a coffee with a friend that, you know, you want to really catch up with. And that interaction could make people feel like, hey, I'm myself again. I'm me again. And that little bit of normalcy, I feel, is very healthy in terms of trying to cultivate a very healthy mental space.
That's that's interesting because the other day I had this conversation with one of our followers, and we were talking about self-care. But for her, she thinks that there is a difference between self-care and self-pampering. So that will be, I mean, that's another thing. But she basically expressed how, you know, people have been. I mean, social media has been good and bad for a lot of reasons. But she was just saying that, you know, you could be doing yoga, but a lot of people might be just doing it for the gram, and then says, "Oh, self-care." But then it's that's more of a marketing, you know, a image building.
Yeah.
And also just kind of like hop onto what you've said. With mental resilience as well, is a lot of people think that a mental resilience means that I will not feel sadness anymore or I won't be angry anymore. It's not really in control, but it is more of how do you deal with that kind of situation. When one is more mentally fit, it's not that I won't. It's like for example, for you or for me, we are more aware about, you know,
mental resilience. But it's not that we will not go through all these emotions. We're still human at the end of the day. But it's more of like now when we go through it, like what you say with this year, July, when you go through it, you don't just react in the same way that you have, but you have turned into looking at a different perspective, which
Yeah.
I think it's important because people says, oh, I could go through this self-care, but I still feel angry about myself. And I think it's acceptance and acknowledging is one of the key point for mental health as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you nailed that really, really well. It's not about a quick fix, and it's definitely not a one-time fix. It's about constantly building that strength over and over again so that, in future, whatever happens, yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, it's going to wear you down again, but you have all these toolkits in your back pocket that will slowly help bring you back up to where you were before again, rather than, being buried and being swallowed by all these things that get thrown your way.
Yeah, yeah. And also when you were talking about, how mental health um that how it is linked to physical health, I think like one of your example with your anxiety attack is that even with anxiety, it will affect your body system. It gives you chest pain, it gives you headaches, it can give you giddiness. So our body is not just mind or body, it's really much holistic, correlated. Yeah, so that's why it's really important that we need to kind of look into our mind more often than not. And I
Yeah.
actually have got one, yeah, sorry.
No. Keep going.
Actually got one question to ask you about being mindful about what we say to others, because I remember one of your posts when you went through the whole the miscarriage, because I just had the conversation with one of my friends yesterday, which she is try she don't feel that she needs to so she got married. She's not in a rush of getting a baby, but now she started to feel pressurized because everybody is asking about it. And I think everyone, and this is a very common societal thing where people ask, "Oh, are you pregnant yet? Are you pregnant yet?" And I just kind of want to ask you from a personal standpoint, when you have been pregnant before and you have gone through like different experience, how would you have educate someone to be more mindful about this kind of concerns?
Yeah. Um, I think the thing is, I want to say is that you don't know the whole story. You don't know this person's story. So unless you're super close with that person, like, my best friend, okay, I would be comfortable asking that question because I know that if she has more to tell, I'm there to listen. But if it's like, a small talk, beyond a how are you kind of thing, if you don't know the whole story, don't assume that, this person doesn't want to have kids. You don't assume that, she is prioritizing her career over having kids. You don't know the whole story behind that. And if you truly do not know, yeah, I feel like it's almost gotten to a point where that's like, to me, an inappropriate question to ask. Are you thinking about having kids? That question, just because infertility, as I have started to find out, or miscarriages is way more common than we think. And just because, again, people don't talk about it doesn't mean they don't exist. Yeah, so I think, it's like you don't go to somebody and say like, oh, do you find yourself like, sleepless at night, being depressed all the time? Like you don't immediately attack and ask things like that. So I think similarly with these sorts of conversations, being mindful and asking questions in a way that is positive, that allows for room for the person to want to share a little bit more if they want to, but also giving them the space to not so how like when we ask people, hey, how are you, and everyone says, yeah, I'm good, but they may not really be good, but that's just an instinctively how they want to ask. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I would ask that person, do you really want to know? Is it important that you know whether this person is actively trying to have kids or not? If it's not, then I don't think that's a question that really needs to be asked, especially to someone that you don't really know. That's my take.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that requires the message out there, because I think a lot of people, because we're not educated in a sense, so in a lot of area, like if I don't have been through a depression, I wouldn't be so mindful about how to ask someone else, how are you? I'll be like, hey, why are you always so emo, or why are you always so sad? Or if I don't go through, like, I remember that there's one of my high school friend who has went through something similar, and then when I ask her, she says, so every opportunity for someone to be ignorant is also an opportunity for us to educate as well. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize. They're not really aware. They don't know that the question might be harmful. They just think this is a societal norm, or right, this is a stage. I'm gonna ask you because this is what everybody asks.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to, listen to from your perspective as well, that it really requires, you need to know the intention behind asking it. Is it just for a casual small talk, or is it that you really care for this person? That's very important.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's the intention behind it. And are you prepared to take on the full story if you know?
Yeah. That's one of the UK culture that I can't. I struggled to get it even when I came, because everybody don't say how are you, but they just, you're right. And then when I first came, I started to talk about my story, and then they go like, "Oh, right, I'm not really ready to listen to your story. I just want you to say like you're fine." It's just something that I constantly ask my partner as well. Like, why is it that people are asking if you're alright when they actually don't care? But it's just cultural differences. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're gonna ask if there is anybody kind of like have any questions for Anabel. Do write it in the comment, and then we can ask Anabel. But yeah, it's let me see if I've got any other questions, because when I start a conversation, I get carried away, and I'm very curious, and I like to ask a lot of questions. And then what happened last week with Anita Kapoor is that then we went on to an hour and a half, and then I felt so guilty after.
yeah. I know you had the session with Anita. So interestingly, so how I met my coach Andrew, I was on a panel. Anita, myself, and Andrew, we were on a speaking panel together, talking about fitness and mental wellness with Fitbit 3 years ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it was quite interesting how like our paths like eventually crossed again.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I think the circles is quite, not, I wouldn't say small, but when we start to think about people that are when I start to go to people that I think that will be very willing to come on board on this, there are a few figures that kind of like already pop up quite prominently, and it's a feeling as well. I feel that this person is gonna be really approachable with topics like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's how this whole circle kind of form up. Yeah, I think that's all for the kind of like my question as well. There's just people popping in and say hello. Yeah, so I think it's really great that you share with us all about your stories, and how with all these things that you have gone through, it has also strengthened your mental resilience, as well as with coaching as well, how it has then gives you all the toolkits. And we also talk about how to then promote it in a more personal level, to talk about it more, to educate other people, to cultivate this environment where we take mental wellness more seriously.
I think,
Yeah.
I think taking it seriously right now is, something that we all can do for ourselves, especially in these times. Everyone has a little bit more time on their hands. And if there is any like takeaway from our session today, and I think you and I will both agree, is that don't wait till something is bothering you to, seek help. I mean, do that, of course, don't, but the thing is, If you're well and good now, great. Don't wait till something requires your help to seek it. Start now. The same way
Mm.
as you don't wait till you're 60 and having diabetes before you start exercising. You want to start when you're young. You want to start building a good cardiovascular system. Start now with, simple little things, whatever tools that there is out there. And I'm sure you'll be able to, point them, through their way with like different techniques, different courses available, to just strengthen that mindset a little bit. And there, you can go a little bit, you can go a lot, and depending on your appetite, but I would say start something right now, even if it's 5 minutes of breathing exercise, or
Mm.
the practice of being present, doing a mindfulness practice, just something to get started. I think it's never too early to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. I can't agree more, and I think that's one thing that we need to. It takes time, and it's also one of Turnique's mission to kind of like promote this prevention thing. However, even with mental health now, it's really sad in one point that most people learn it through the hard way. It is only when somebody have went through it, and but now even like for me, I've been through depression and anxiety myself, and then now even when I go to someone and says, you need to start doing it, people don't get the importance yet. But I think we'll get there. I think it's a start, and it's really nice, now that we start seeing more people coming out to talk about mental health topic. And then I saw that you shared before in your story on the is it Kind Friend or the one of the journal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think visualizing, talking about it, bringing life to what goes on here is a great way to have it a little bit more tangibly, and you can
Mm.
put what's what you're feeling, or having thoughts in your head. I mean, I think if there's again any takeaway from tonight is I came from a background where I didn't wait till there was something wrong to start building up my mental wellness. I started early, and looking back, that was one of the best investments I've made for my personal and professional life. I cannot really imagine what life would be if I didn't do that. I think the last 2 years would have been really hard, really hard. And I mean, they were still hard, but the thing is, I got out of them, and I got out of them feeling like I ran a marathon still, but I felt good.
Like a champion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's one thing that I wanted to say just now. It's when you said right now. Sorry, I forgot about them.
That's okay.
That's why I need
Yeah,
to write it down.
yeah. I mean, like, there's just so much to talk about when it comes to this. It's hard to like sometimes when you tell me like IG live you have like an hour or something, and then I'm like, I gotta cram this in and like go through these things as much as possible. But it's like, yeah, it's never, because
Yeah.
that's the whole journey, never ends. I don't know what next month is going to bring me, but yeah, it's all about taking a seat back, letting it happen. And yeah, it's kind of like an experiment as well. Have a play around, see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, life entirely is an experiment, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to it, whatever things life throws at me, but I know that I'm in a better place to deal with it, as it comes. And my journey doesn't stop here as well. It's funny that you mentioned like, you have several courses on Turnic, right? So one thing that I started looking into the last couple months, just recently, I think in February or something, is tapping. And I saw that you guys do a session on that as well. I love it. I think it's another, again, it's a toolkit. It's, several different ways that helps center you. And that's another tool that I've added into my kit that I really love this year.
Oh,
Yeah, so
great. Yeah. It's amazing. I think it's been one of the life-changing techniques that I have learned through the years, and because so I'm a nursing by background, but I'm also a neuroscientist by background. So I like to I think it's really fascinating when I see how psychology and biology works together. It's because tapping is the whole entire thing of, you know, um, how you relate your emotions into a certain event, and then how you can then think about that emotions or the events, and then while tapping, bringing your sympathetic system down to the parasympathetic system. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, one day we'll have lots to talk about because, you know, at We Bar, we do like stretch classes, right? So I
Mm.
didn't want it to be a physical stretch class. Like, great, you feel flexible, you feel like blood flow. We have this in our training, we talk really heavily about how when we elicit the right breathing patterns, we bring about the parasympathetic nervous system, taking it from a fight mode
Yeah.
into, you know, this like, yeah, recovery mode, and using that recovery mode to aid into our stretches so that, you know, our clients, we get the most out of it as well. So, you know, in our
Yeah.
day-to-day, we're on our seats like all the time with adrenaline running through our bodies. But the thing is, we don't, even when we sleep, how many people can genuinely say, I get a fabulous restful sleep every night? And that, you know, when we sleep, that's when our parasympathetic nervous system comes in. That's where recovery comes in. But even then, we don't sleep very well. So then we need to, through meditation, through mindfulness, through, you know, stretching, through, you know, mobility work, to try to bring the body into those levels as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to kind of like sum up our chat as well. I think I'm just gonna wrap it up a little bit, because I just think that, you know, we can just continue talking about it for the rest of like the whole evening. But yeah, I think I really wanna take a time, because I've got a viewer just share this. Say thank you for sharing. Sometimes we are just not sure why we are feeling emotional and don't feel like sharing with anyone. What can we do?
Maybe you'll have like advice, but if I were in your shoes and I'm feeling like emotional and I don't know why and I don't want to talk to anyone about it, I like to sit with myself and be present in the moment. So taking away gadgets, taking away any forms of distraction. And I like to ask myself this question: what is it that's really bothering me? Because sometimes the first thing that you think of is not what's really bothering you. So if you allow yourself to see a little bit more, go through it levels, like what's really bothering me? You know, somebody said something that I didn't like. No, think again. What's really bothering me? I feel like for me, when I reach the light bulb moment and I find out what's really bothering me, I'll be like, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I hold on to that much better. And the fact that I uncovered what it is somehow makes me feel better. And I think the reason why a lot of people recommend you talk to someone else is hopefully in that conversation back and forth that you also come to the realization of what is it really that's bothering you. But if you don't feel like talking to somebody, I would just sit with myself and just go through the levels. Let the feelings come out, let the feelings emerge, and hopefully by the end of it, you find out what's really bothering you at the end of it.
Yeah,
Do you have any,
that's sorry.
do you have any tips on that?
I think for me, because that's how Turnique is, it's designed as well. I think when we go through emotions, the same thing again. I want to compare it with physical health. When we got cut by a knife, right? The first thing that we do is to stop the bleeding. We are not thinking about, you know, which knife cut me, but we stop the bleeding first. So that's more of like a immediate intervention. And then after that, the second thing, you start to think about what hurt me. So that's where I kind of sit down and be like, right, what is it that really triggers me? And then after that, the third one is to cultivate like a longer term habit. What happens, or what do I do if this happen again? Okay, I'm gonna keep the knife aside. I'm gonna store it properly. So I think it's the same thing for mental health as well. When something happens, we don't. I think in our very fast-paced life at the moment, is that we want to jump into solution. That's when people tell us of their problem, we want to kind of like come in a rescue mode and tell them what to do, blah, blah, blah. But it's okay for you to really sit in with yourself, like what you said as well, to acknowledge those emotions. Like, I see you, I hear you, and it's okay. You just embrace that emotions as part of human being. And then when you find yourself coming down, so in the same time, you can do breathing, meditation to really just accept this feeling. And then when you calm down, then you start asking yourself, why is it that you have that kind of thoughts? Like, really questioning into deep thoughts, right? It's not what you said, it's not what person say, is that maybe what the person says makes you feel that, right, maybe I'm not good enough. So that is actually a self-doubt that's underneath that question. And then, all right, so what am I going to do in the future? Maybe I can start doing journaling. So I think there is a lot of things that we could do. And like what you say, you need to really expose yourself to more toolkit so that you know when and what you can do when you are feeling a certain emotions.
I know like we're about to end this session, but as you were talking about your tips just now, and for those who are still listening in, I just got reminded of this like beautiful poem that I read like a couple of years ago, and you might know. It's called like 5X on a Sidewalk. Does that ring a bell for you?
No.
It's a mind. I'll send it to you after. It's exactly what you said. It's beautiful. You'll love it. I'll send it to you after our chat.
Right. Okay.
Sidewalk. So if you guys who are listening in, you can't find it, just send me a DM. I'll find that and send it to you. It's exactly what you said.
Ooh, cool.
So, yeah.
It's quite nice because when I go through like life stages, and then you have a realization, and then you saw it in a book or you saw it in a poem, it's just like, oh, that's my realizations. It's really nice. Okay, we will wrap up the session. I think I really couldn't thank you enough for taking not just taking the time, but I think that it is an honor for us to really listen to your story, because it's not. I think stories are very precious because these are where people really brace the like vulnerability and put the story out there. So I really want to thank all of you. Thank you for talking, for sharing, and thank all of you for staying throughout this whole session with us. So this session, I will usually says that I will convert them into a podcast, which we update on our Spotify. If somebody wants to listen on the go, that's fine. And we'll also put it on Facebook and YouTube as well. And then just to let everyone know as well that we are also working with Reba for one of their classes. So Anabel's gonna kill us this Sunday with some exercises. Yeah, so if you would like to join us, it is on our Instagram. And then so that's great. Do you have any other things that you want to add?
Not for now, maybe in another session at another time. There's like so much to say, but I think we've covered quite a lot today, and thanks for tuning in, for staying through. And Marilyn, thank you so much for having me. I feel like I'm talking to a friend. I don't feel like I've never met you and this like stranger who I'm talking to. I feel like I know you already. I think it's really nice.
Oh, I cry with everything, so I need to hang up, and then I need to kind of like had a moment. Yes, but I really thank you all very much. And so for all of you that's evening back home, just spend some time on your own, like what we both have covered today. It's not about what you do, but it's really about having that connection with your inner self, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Okay, all right. Thank you again, Anabel. I wish you have a good evening and that your baby sleep through the night today.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That's always. I think she'll do fine tonight.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.